Your child just scored perfectly on their math test, but they can't handle it when their best friend doesn't want to play with them at recess. They can recite the periodic table, but they melt down when they lose at board games. Here's the uncomfortable truth that school systems don't want you to know. IQ might get your child into college, but emotional intelligence will determine whether they succeed in relationships, careers, and life. What if I told you that the single best predictor of your child's future success has nothing to do with grades, test scores, or academic achievement? Research from Harvard University shows that emotional intelligence accounts for nearly 90% of what separates high performers from their peers with similar technical skills. Yet most parents spend countless hours helping with homework while completely ignoring the development of emotional skills that will actually determine their child's happiness and success. Emotional intelligence isn't just about being nice or having good manners. It's the ability to recognize, understand, and manage emotions in yourself and others. It's knowing how to navigate conflict, bounce back from disappointment, read social cues, and build meaningful relationships. These are the skills that will help your child handle a difficult boss, navigate marriage challenges, be a good parent themselves, and maintain mental health during life's inevitable storms. Today, I'm going to share the exact framework for teaching emotional intelligence that psychologists use, broken down into practical strategies you can implement at every age, from infancy through adolescence. You'll discover why your well-meaning responses might actually be stunting your child's emotional development and learn the 5 core components of emotional intelligence that you can start teaching today. If you're ready to raise a child who can handle whatever life throws at them with grace, resilience, and emotional maturity, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. We share evidence-based parenting strategies every week that go beyond academics to build the life skills that truly matter. The foundation of emotional intelligence is laid much earlier than most parents realize. From the moment your baby is born, they're learning about emotions by watching your face, hearing your tone of voice, and experiencing how you respond to their needs. An infant whose cries are met with calm, consistent responses learns that emotions are manageable and that they can trust relationships. An infant whose needs are ignored or met with irritation learns that emotions are dangerous and relationships are unpredictable. This doesn't mean you have to be perfect or respond instantly to every whimper. It means that overall, your child experiences you as emotionally available and responsive. They learn emotional regulation first through co-regulation with you. Your calm helps them become calm. Your joy amplifies their joy. Your comfort soothes their distress. But here's where most parents get stuck. We were raised in a generation that didn't prioritize emotional intelligence. Many of us were told to stop crying, that we were being too sensitive, or that certain emotions weren't acceptable. We're now trying to teach skills we were never taught ourselves, which requires us to do our own emotional work alongside raising emotionally intelligent children. The 5 core components of emotional intelligence are self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. Each of these builds on the previous one, creating a comprehensive framework for emotional competence. Let's break down each component and how you can actively teach it to your children at different developmental stages. Self-awareness is the foundation of all emotional intelligence. It's the ability to recognize and name your own emotions as they're happening. Children aren't born knowing that the uncomfortable feeling in their chest is anxiety, or that the heat rising in their face is anger. They need us to help them build an emotional vocabulary and connect physical sensations to emotional states. For young children ages 2 to 5, this starts with simple emotion labeling throughout the day. When your toddler is frustrated because they can't get their shoes on, you say, "You're feeling frustrated." Frustrated means upset because something is hard. When they're excited about going to the park, you say, "I can see you're excited." Your body has lots of energy and you're smiling big. The key is narrating emotions in real time, connecting the feeling word to what's happening in their body and their situation. Create an emotion-rich environment by reading books about feelings, playing games where you make different emotion faces, and most importantly, modeling self-awareness yourself by naming your own emotions out loud. I'm feeling stressed right now because we're running late. Or, I'm so happy to see you after school. For school-age children ages 6 to 12, you can introduce more nuanced emotional vocabulary. Instead of just sad, help them distinguish between disappointed, lonely, hurt, or discouraged. Teach them to notice the physical signs of different emotions. Butterflies in the stomach might mean nervousness, tight shoulders might mean stress, warmth in the chest might mean love or gratitude. Encourage them to check in with their emotions regularly. At dinner, go around the table and have everyone share one emotion they felt that day and what caused it. This normalizes talking about feelings and helps children develop the habit of emotional self-reflection. You might also create an emotion chart where they can track their feelings throughout the week, noticing patterns about what situations trigger different emotions. For teenagers ages 13 to 18, self-awareness becomes more sophisticated as they develop abstract thinking. They can start to understand how past experiences shape current emotional reactions, why they might feel multiple conflicting emotions simultaneously, and how their thoughts influence their feelings. Encourage journaling, creative expression through art or music, or simply regular conversations where you ask, "How are you really feeling about that?" Self-regulation is the second component, the ability to manage emotions appropriately rather than being controlled by them. This doesn't mean suppressing emotions or pretending everything is fine. It means experiencing emotions fully while still making good choices about how to express and respond to them. Young children learn self-regulation through co-regulation with you. When your preschooler is having a tantrum, your calm presence helps their nervous system calm down. You're literally lending them your regulated nervous system until they develop their own capacity for self-soothing. Teach simple strategies like taking deep breaths, counting to 10, asking for a hug, or taking a break in a calm-down corner with soft toys and books. School-age children can learn more advanced regulation strategies like the stop and think method. When they feel a big emotion, they stop, take 3 breaths, think about their choices, and then respond. Teach them the difference between feeling angry and acting on anger. It's okay to feel mad, but it's not okay to hit. Help them identify healthy outlets for big emotions like running, drawing, talking, or listening to music. Teenagers need guidance in understanding that self-regulation isn't about never feeling strong emotions, it's about creating space between the feeling and the reaction. Teach them to recognize their emotional triggers and develop personalized coping strategies. Some teens regulate through physical activity, others through creative expression, and others through talking with trusted friends. Help them build a toolkit of healthy regulation strategies they can draw from in different situations. The third component is intrinsic motivation, the ability to set goals, delay gratification, and persist through challenges because of internal drive rather than external rewards or punishments. Children with strong intrinsic motivation don't need constant praise or bribes to do difficult things. They've learned that the satisfaction of accomplishment and personal growth is reward enough. This is where many modern parents go wrong. We've created a generation of children who expect stickers, screen time, or treats for every small effort. This actually undermines intrinsic motivation by teaching kids to ask, "What do I get for this?" instead of, "What can I learn from this?" To build intrinsic motivation, focus on process rather than outcome. Instead of, "Great job getting an A," try, "I noticed how hard you studied and how you didn't give up when the material got difficult." Help children connect their efforts to their personal goals rather than to your expectations. Ask questions like, "What do you want to work on?" And "How did it feel when you accomplished that?" Celebrate effort, strategy, and persistence rather than just results. When they face setbacks, help them see challenges as information about what to try differently next time, not as evidence of their worth or ability. Empathy, the fourth component, is the ability to recognize and understand emotions in others. It's what allows children to maintain friendships, resolve conflicts peacefully, and build meaningful relationships throughout life. Empathy begins developing in infancy when babies start to show distress at hearing other babies cry, but it requires active cultivation to fully develop. For young children, teach empathy by pointing out emotions in others throughout the day. Look at that little boy crying. I wonder how he's feeling. What do you think happened? When they hurt someone, even accidentally, help them notice the impact. When you grabbed the toy, your sister started crying. How do you think she feels? This connects their actions to others' emotional experiences. Read books together and pause to discuss characters' feelings and motivations. Ask questions like, "Why do you think she did that?" Or, "How would you feel if that happened to you?" This builds the critical skill of perspective taking, the ability to imagine someone else's experience. When conflicts arise with siblings or friends, use them as teaching moments by helping each child articulate their perspective and then understand the other person's point of view. School-age children can develop more sophisticated empathy through exposure to diverse experiences and stories. Discuss current events and how different people might be affected differently. Encourage volunteer work or community service where they interact with people from different backgrounds. When they judge someone harshly, gently challenge them to consider what might be happening in that person's life that they don't know about. Teenagers can understand that empathy doesn't mean agreeing with everyone or excusing harmful behavior. It means seeking to understand experiences different from their own. Encourage them to be curious about perspectives they disagree with, to consider systemic factors that shape people's choices, and to recognize their own privilege and biases. Model this by avoiding gossip, speaking respectfully about people you disagree with, and admitting when you've misjudged someone. The fifth component is social skills, the ability to use emotional intelligence to navigate relationships, communicate effectively, resolve conflicts, and work collaboratively with others. This is where all the previous components come together into practical interpersonal competence. A child can be self-aware, regulated, motivated, and empathetic, but still struggle in relationships if they haven't learned how to apply these skills socially. Social skills include things like starting conversations, joining group activities, reading social cues, taking turns, compromising, apologizing genuinely, accepting feedback, and maintaining friendships over time. These skills don't develop automatically. They require explicit teaching, practice, and coaching from parents who help children reflect on social interactions. For young children, social skills teaching happens through play. Arrange play dates and be present to coach through sharing conflicts, turn-taking challenges, and disagreements. Don't immediately jump in to solve every problem, but do offer guidance. You both want the red crayon. What could you do to solve this problem together? Role-play common social situations like joining a game on the playground or what to do when someone hurts your feelings. School-age children benefit from debriefing social situations after they happen. When your child comes home upset about a friendship issue, resist the urge to immediately fix it or dismiss it as drama. Instead, ask questions that build social problem solving. What do you think was happening for your friend? What are your options for how to handle this? What might happen if you chose each option? This develops their capacity to navigate complex social dynamics independently. Teach specific communication skills like using I statements instead of blaming, asking clarifying questions before assuming intentions, and expressing appreciation regularly. Model these skills in your own relationships so they see what healthy communication looks like. When you have a conflict with your partner or friend, let your children see how you repair it respectfully. For teenagers, social skills become more nuanced as they navigate romantic relationships, online communication, and increasingly complex social hierarchies. Teach them about boundaries, how to set them, communicate them, and respect others' boundaries. Discuss the difference between healthy and unhealthy relationship patterns. Help them understand that social media presents curated versions of reality and that online interactions require the same emotional intelligence as face-to-face ones. Now let's address the biggest mistakes parents make that actually undermine emotional intelligence development. The first mistake is emotional dismissiveness. This happens when we minimize, ignore, or shame our children's emotions, saying things like, "You're fine, bye, stop crying," or "That's nothing to be upset about," or "Big kids don't get scared," teaches children that their emotions are wrong or unacceptable. Even when emotions seem disproportionate to the situation, they're real to your child in that moment. A dismissive response shuts down emotional expression and teaches children to suppress feelings rather than process them. Instead, validate first, "I can see you're really upset," and then help them problem solve if needed. The second mistake is fixing or rescuing too quickly. When our child is sad, we want to immediately cheer them up. When they're frustrated, we want to solve the problem for them. But constantly rescuing children from uncomfortable emotions prevents them from developing their own capacity to sit with and work through difficult feelings. Let them experience the full range of human emotions without rushing to make everything better. Sit with them in their discomfort. Your presence and empathy are more valuable than your solutions. This teaches them that difficult emotions are temporary and survivable, which is fundamental to emotional resilience. The third mistake is modeling poor emotional intelligence ourselves. Children learn far more from what we do than what we say. If we yell when we're frustrated, give the silent treatment when we're hurt, or gossip about others, we're teaching those patterns regardless of what we tell our children about emotional intelligence. You cannot teach skills you don't practice yourself. This means doing your own emotional work. Notice your triggers and patterns. Learn to pause before reacting. Apologize when you handle emotions poorly. Verbalize your emotional regulation process. "I'm feeling really frustrated right now, so I'm going to take a few deep breaths before we talk about this." Your children are watching and learning from every emotional interaction they witness. The fourth mistake is praising emotional suppression. When we say things like, "Good job not crying," or "I'm proud of you for being so strong," when a child is clearly struggling, we're teaching them that expressing emotion is weakness. Emotional intelligence isn't about not feeling or not showing feelings. It's about feeling fully while still making good choices about expression and response. Instead, praise emotional awareness and healthy expression. "I noticed you were upset, but you used your words instead of hitting," or "You're really sad about this, and you asked for a hug." That's a great way to handle sad feelings. This reinforces that emotions themselves are acceptable while still guiding appropriate expression. The fifth mistake is treating emotional intelligence as a curriculum rather than a lifestyle. You can't teach emotional intelligence through weekly lessons or workbooks alone. It has to be woven into everyday life through thousands of small interactions. Every conflict, every disappointment, every celebration is an opportunity to coach emotional skills. Make emotional intelligence conversations part of your regular family life. At dinner, share highs and lows from your day, including how you felt and how you handled those feelings. When watching movies or reading books together, pause to discuss characters' emotions and choices. When your child faces challenges, resist the urge to lecture, and instead ask coaching questions that help them develop their own emotional problem-solving skills. Create a family culture where emotions are welcomed, not feared. This means making it safe to express all emotions, including the uncomfortable ones like anger, jealousy, and disappointment. It means modeling that adults have emotions too, and that we're all continually working on managing them better. It means celebrating emotional growth just as much as academic achievements. If you're realizing that emotional intelligence might be more important than you've been treating it, and you want more strategies for raising emotionally healthy kids who can handle whatever life throws at them, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We share research-backed parenting insights every week that go beyond report cards to build the character and resilience that truly matter. Now let's talk about what to do when you realize your child is already struggling with emotional intelligence. Maybe they're 8 and still having meltdowns, or 12 and unable to maintain friendships, or 16 and struggling with anxiety because they never learned healthy emotional regulation. The good news is that emotional intelligence can be developed at any age. It's never too late to start. Begin by acknowledging to yourself and potentially to your child that this is an area that needs more focus. Depending on their age, you might say something like, "I've been thinking about emotions and how we handle them in our family, and I want us all to get better at this together." Frame it as a family growth area, not as something wrong with them specifically. Start with the basics, regardless of age. Build emotional vocabulary, practice identifying emotions in yourselves and others, and establish that all emotions are acceptable even when all behaviors aren't. Be patient with the process. Children who haven't had emotional coaching will initially struggle and may even resist your new approach because it feels unfamiliar. Consider working with a therapist or counselor who specializes in children and emotional development if your child is significantly struggling. Sometimes children need professional support to work through emotional blocks or develop skills they missed in earlier developmental windows. This isn't a failure on your part. It's recognizing that sometimes we need expert help, just like we'd get for any other developmental concern. As we wrap up, I want you to understand that teaching emotional intelligence is one of the greatest gifts you can give your child. In a world that's increasingly complex, uncertain, and connected, the ability to understand and manage emotions will serve them far more than any academic achievement alone. Think about the adults you know who are truly successful and happy. They're not necessarily the ones with the highest IQs or the most impressive degrees. They're the ones who maintain healthy relationships, bounce back from setbacks, collaborate effectively with others, and manage stress without falling apart. These are all skills of emotional intelligence, and they can be taught starting from birth. The research is overwhelming on this point. Children with high emotional intelligence have better mental health, stronger relationships, higher academic achievement, better physical health, and more career success. They're less likely to engage in risky behaviors, more likely to persist through challenges, and better equipped to handle the inevitable difficulties life brings. But beyond all these outcomes, emotionally intelligent children are simply happier. They understand themselves. They connect meaningfully with others. They can navigate the full spectrum of human experience without being overwhelmed by it. They know that emotions are information, not emergencies. They trust relationships to weather storms. They have compassion for themselves and others. Your role in developing these skills cannot be overstated. Yes, schools can help and peers play a role, but the foundation of emotional intelligence is built at home through thousands of interactions with parents who prioritize emotional development as much as academic success. This requires intentionality that runs counter to our culture's focus on achievement and performance. It means sometimes letting your child be sad instead of distracting them with entertainment. It means having difficult conversations about feelings instead of avoiding uncomfortable topics. It means being vulnerable about your own emotional struggles instead of pretending you have it all together. It also requires patience with both yourself and your child. Emotional intelligence develops gradually over years, not weeks or months. You'll have days where everyone's emotions are overwhelming and nobody regulates well. You'll make mistakes and handle situations poorly. That's part of being human, and it's actually valuable for your children to see that emotional intelligence is a lifelong practice, not a destination. Remember that every moment is an opportunity to coach emotional skills. The tantrum in the grocery store, the friendship conflict at school, the disappointment over a canceled plan, the excitement about a small success. Each of these is a chance to help your child understand emotions more deeply and handle them more skillfully. Start today, wherever your children are developmentally. Name emotions as you notice them. Model healthy emotional expression and regulation. Create space for feelings without rushing to fix them. Celebrate emotional growth and self-awareness. Build empathy through perspective-taking conversations. Coach social skills in real-time situations. The investment you make now in your child's emotional intelligence will pay dividends for the rest of their lives. They'll navigate relationships with wisdom, handle stress with resilience, pursue goals with intrinsic motivation, and treat themselves and others with compassion. These are the skills that create not just successful lives, but meaningful ones. Your children are learning about emotions every single day, whether you're intentionally teaching them or not. The question is, what are they learning? Are they learning that emotions are dangerous and should be suppressed? Or that emotions are valuable information that can be understood and managed? The choice is yours, and it starts with the very next interaction you have with your child.